Welcome back, Defenders. We're going to cover Donald Trump's big announcement from yesterday. It comes in three parts: the good, the confusing, and the incredibly stupid. We're going to start with the good news first. United States to sell nearly $10 billion in weapons to NATO allies supplying Ukraine. From Patriots to artillery, American equipment will flow through Europe to the Ukrainian front lines. If this was the only thing announced yesterday, this would be a win. The United States has the largest military stockpiles in the world. The United States has the largest defense production capabilities in the world. Realistically, the United States has to supply weapons in some form for Ukraine to win this war. The only debate is who pays for it. So it's important to be clear. Any defense articles delivered via this framework are not U.S. security assistance. The administration has not actually committed any new bilateral assistance to Ukraine. This could change. Donald Trump has about $3 billion left in presidential drawdown authority. He's supposed to use this before October 1st, so Trump in the next 3 months might announce he'll send weapons, and the United States will pay for them. But at the moment, it's the Europeans, it's NATO and the G7, and $10 billion is a lot of weapons, guys. This is insane. Joe Biden, the last couple months in office, only sent $6 billion worth of military aid. So this is almost double what Joe Biden provided in his last couple months in office. This is going to make a difference on the battlefield. So this meeting, this is the NATO Secretary General. You can see J.D. Vance is there, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and even Steve Witkoff. This was the most critical moment of the gathering. I'm going to play for you this minute, and then we'll talk about what Donald Trump said.
I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched into Kiev or some other city. And I said, it's strange. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say, the talk doesn't mean anything. My conversations with him are always very pleasant. I say, isn't that a very lovely conversation? And then the missiles go off that night. I go home, I tell the First Lady, I spoke to Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit. So it's like, look, he's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. It's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me. But
So Putin has fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, but he's not fooled Trump. Sure. The most interesting detail is Trump saying that when he would get off the phone with Putin, he would tell his wife, Melania, he had a good phone call. And then Melania would say, oh, really? Another city in Ukraine was just hit. Did this actually happen, or did Donald Trump make it up? We don't know. Melania Trump was born in the former Yugoslavia, present-day Slovenia, and we don't really know what Melania's politics are. She's never publicly supported Ukraine or condemned the Russians, but this is a meme. People really enjoyed hearing that potentially Melania Trump has advocated for Ukraine privately to Donald Trump. So the internet is running away with this. I had a great conversation with Putin. Oh, really? Another Ukrainian city was just hit. People are now making AI-generated images of Melania Trump in blue and yellow, showing that she supports Ukraine. And this is just a fantastic image. I might have to turn this into a fundraising patch. It might be nothing, but the Russians are definitely concerned because they were concerned enough to mention Melania on Kremlin state TV. This is what they said. It cannot be denied that the female factor has always played a huge role in diplomacy. In this case, we need to pay attention to the role that Slovenia, as a member of the European Union, plays in U.S. politics. After all, to continue with this well-known maxim, Melania is the neck that determines which way the head of the United States of America will turn. Does Melania Trump control anything that Donald Trump does, and no, she does not. But can she have an impact? Can she have an influence casually mentioning what's happening in the news when Donald Trump doesn't get the best information from his own advisors? It's possible. Trump reportedly asked Zelensky if Ukraine could strike Moscow. White House says he wasn't encouraging further killing. This is a conversation that I believe actually did happen. Donald Trump and Zelensky were talking on the phone, and Trump asked Zelensky, "Are you capable of bombing Moscow? The Russians every night are bombing your capital city. Can you bomb theirs?" And yes, Ukraine has long-range drones, and they have done strikes in Moscow, but they don't have any ballistic or cruise missiles, which is giving Trump the idea. Why don't we sell to Ukraine ballistic and cruise missiles? So one of the first things that Ukraine might be getting really soon is additional ATACMS missiles. If the Europeans are willing to pay for them, then Donald Trump seems willing to give up, the report is about 18 additional ATACMS. Ukraine's not going to say no to those. But here is the big item that Donald Trump could approve that Joe Biden was never willing to do. Ukraine's next weapon could be the US-made JASSM, and it might arrive just in time. The AGM-158 JASSM, this is the American equivalent of a Storm Shadow or a Scalp. This is an air-launched cruise missile from F-16s. Ukraine now has F-16s. So will JASSMs be provided? And according to their range, they can't quite hit the capital city of Moscow, but they get pretty close. All of these Russian air bases and ammunition depots are in range. And yes, I think on the trajectory that we're currently on, Donald Trump is going to approve and sell JASSMs to Ukraine. This is a big deal, guys. This is a win. This is going to make a huge impact on the battlefield. That was the good news. Let's now get to the confusing news. Trump announces 17 Patriot air defense systems for Ukraine to shield cities from Russian air terror. Patriot systems, missiles may arrive in Ukraine within days. Trump said this. I'll link the clip down below. Like he was asked, are they missiles or are they entire systems? And he said they're entire systems. 17 of them. Trump made a mistake. His brain is mush, and I'm sure one of his advisors says, we can send 17 Patriot missiles within days. And then to the media, he said 17 Patriot battery systems, which is not possible. The Pentagon was asked about this, and the Pentagon said they couldn't explain what Trump had said, and they said that the media should reach out to the White House for clarification because the Pentagon doesn't know how that's even possible. The same is being reflected by, this is the German defense minister saying, if a new Patriot system were to arrive in Ukraine, this could take months, if one can even be found. I do think they're coming. I think Sweden and Germany are willing to purchase entire new Patriot systems that will eventually be delivered to Ukraine, but they're not arriving in days. Beyond that, there is other air defense systems that the United States could supply to Ukraine. They're not as good as Patriots, for example, the Hawk air defense system. But if Donald Trump is willing to sell anything, then yes, relief for the airs, for the skies, will be coming soon, guys. What does President Zelensky have to say? We appreciate the readiness to provide additional Patriots, and the United States, Germany, and Norway are already working together on this. There will also be deliveries of other weapons to protect lives of our people and repel Russian assaults. The relief is here, guys. Ukraine did fantastic on their own, mostly holding back the Russians with FPV drones. But now we're getting real equipment, real hardware. The United States could send Bradleys. The United States could send Abrams, whatever they want, if Donald Trump lifts all restrictions and the Europeans are willing to pay for this. This is a win. All right, so we covered the good, we covered the confusing, this is now the incredibly stupid. Trump gives Russia 50 days to resolve the war in Ukraine. This is the meme. I don't usually give Putin 2 weeks, but when I do, I give him 50 days. Why did Trump say 50 days? And it's because of September 1st. If Trump were to impose new sanctions or tariffs or whatever, usually they take effect on the 1st of the month. So 50 days from the meeting was September 1st. That's why Trump said 50. Now, is that reasonable? What could possibly change in the next 50 days? That's different than the last 6 months since Trump took office. Who knows? Trump gives Putin 50 days to reach a peace deal or face 100% tariffs. To begin, tariffs are stupid. Tariffs are not going to deter the Russians because if the United States imposes tariffs on Russia, we only import about $3 billion worth of goods. 100% tariffs means Americans will pay an additional $3 billion to import anything from Russia. Whatever. Trump then talks about secondary tariffs or secondary sanctions. Basically, anybody who buys Russian oil or gas will then face a 100% tariff from the United States. I don't know why Trump is so obsessed with tariffs when tariffs hurt American consumers. Tariffs are an import tax that American citizens pay, not the Russians, not the Chinese, not the Indians. But we need a real sanctions bill from Congress. Congressional sanctions on hold as Trump threatens Russia with severe tariffs. So Lindsey Graham, Brian Fitzpatrick, they're not going to debate and vote on this sanctions bill this week or this month. They're going to wait until this 50 days is up. They're going to give the Russians a September 1st deadline. If Russia doesn't agree to a ceasefire across the front lines, then allegedly, sanctions, real sanctions from the United States on Russia will be coming. There is this weird conspiracy, and I do want to mention it. This was covered by Axios. In the July 3rd phone call between Trump and Putin, Putin told Trump that he needed about 60 more days to take all the territory he wanted to take. So the conspiracy is Trump is giving Putin 50 days because 10 days ago, Putin asked Trump for 60 days. Is there any truth to this? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But Trump is so stupid, he misunderstood Putin. And when Trump heard from Putin in this phone call, he needed about 60 more days to take all the territory he wanted to take, Trump interpreted that as Putin told him he wants all of Ukraine. Trump told French President Macron this is what Putin told him when that actually wasn't what was in the transcript of the phone call. Trump made another mistake. But it doesn't matter, guys. We're already halfway through the summer, and Russia's big summer offensive in Sumy has failed. Their second attack, they're attacking over here in Kharkiv. This isn't going anywhere either. There's no way within 50 days the Russians are going to take Pokrovsk or take Konstantinivka or take the city of Zaporizhia or Sloviansk or Kramatorsk. The map has barely moved over the last 6 months, and it's not really going to move over the next 2 months, especially with Ukraine now getting a surge in $10 billion worth of weapons. So we're going to wait. Can Trump change his mind? Yes, he can. Will he? I don't know. Let's get Russia's reaction, and they're pretty confused. Putin's negotiator calls for constructive dialogue as Trump shifts stance on Ukraine. This is Kirill Dmitriev. He's like the third-tier negotiator that Russia sent to Istanbul to meet with the Ukrainians. Lavrov didn't even go. And this is what he put out 2 days ago. Constructive dialogue between Russia and the United States will always achieve more than the tired, destructive language of pressure. Only cooperation brings real peace, stability, and global security. Biden's mistakes and deception will be corrected. The world deserves more. Handshake, globe, Russian flag, American flag. So that was 2 days ago. We need constructive dialogue. We need to bring down the temperature. Then the next day, He posted this: "People who follow Biden's false narratives and approaches lead the world to winter." He's talking about nuclear war. He then posted a Game of Thrones montage saying winter is coming. So the day before, we need constructive dialogue. The next day, we're threatening to nuke everyone in the world and create a permanent winter. Let's get Peskov's response. This is what Peskov had to say in response to Trump's announcement. "I will tell you the following about Trump's statement yesterday. The statement of the President of the United States is very serious. Something in it was addressed personally to President Putin. We certainly need time to analyze what was said in Washington. If and when President Putin deems it necessary, he will definitely comment on it. I wouldn't comment before it's appropriate, so let's wait for Putin's decision. He will comment on it himself." So far, we can say one thing unequivocally. It appears that such a decision, which is made in Washington and the NATO countries, and directly in Brussels, is perceived by the Ukrainian side not as a signal for peace, but as a signal to continue the war. I want to reiterate that we have repeatedly declared at various levels, including the highest level, that we are waiting for proposals, blah, blah, blah. So the Russians don't know how to react. Donald Trump gave them a 50-day deadline, so if they freak out and start attacking Trump, he can always just say, we're going to do the sanctions now. But Donald Trump did approve $10 billion worth of military aid to Ukraine, even if the United States isn't paying for it. So the Russians are very confused. Here's what Alexander Dugin has to say. "MAGA has to claim, return our Donald Trump back to us. Liberate our president immediately from the captivity. Let the president go." I'm pretty sure he's referring to Trump's announcement in Ukraine, but Russian propagandists, once again, don't know what to think and feel. Trump was supposed to be their guy. He was supposed to help them end the war by lifting all sanctions on Russia, returning all frozen assets, and cutting off all supplies and military aid. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. "I've never voted to send a single penny to Ukraine. I've only called for peace. Opposing U.S. involvement in Ukraine was one of the most popular issues during the 2024 campaign." That's a lie. "Especially in Lindsey Graham's own hometown. I haven't changed. I remain firmly opposed to any U.S. involvement, including backdoor deals through NATO, which American taxpayers overwhelmingly fund. I'm unapologetically America first." This is a very weak response from Marjorie Taylor Greene because she knows she's lost. She's lost the propaganda battle to save the Russians. So much pressure has been put on Trump. Thank you to everyone in Europe. Thank you to everyone in NATO. Meeting with Trump, talking to him, talking to his people every single day. This is how we got to this moment. And the pro-Russian faction of the Republican Party, they're rolling over. This is Charlie Kirk. This was his YouTube video from yesterday. Trump drops huge Ukraine update. And this is the benefit, guys. Having Donald Trump meeting with Secretary Rutte, having him announce new weapons are going to Ukraine, all of these MAGA influencers who don't have any real core beliefs or opinions, they're now going to flip on Russia. So this guy, a year ago, was calling Zelensky a dictator, Ukraine the most corrupt country in the world, and they're full of Nazis, biolabs, blah, blah, blah. That's what this guy was saying a year ago. And because Donald Trump changed his mind, now he's singing a different tune. This is what every influencer in MAGA is now going to be doing. Oh, maybe Ukraine's not that bad. Maybe Russia is not that good. This takes the pressure off on social media. This is going to change what people think and feel. This is the real victory in the short term. And it's a huge relief, guys. It's a relief. Here are thoughts from Ambassador Michael McFaul. grateful that Putin did not accept all the concessions Trump initially offered, and instead arrogantly demanded more. Had he accepted Trump's initial peace deal terms, it would have been a huge victory for imperialism, but Putin, as usual, overreached and has now lost Trump. This was a very good deal that Trump has been offering Putin the last 6 months. You can keep all the territory you've taken. The United States will recognize Crimea as internationally belonging to you. We'll lift all sanctions. We'll apply pressure on Europe to lift all sanctions on Russia. All frozen assets will be returned. And the only thing the Russians have to do is stop killing people. Stop trying to take more land. And Putin told Trump no. And it's been 6 months. And Trump is annoyed. So the war continues. The politics have changed. This is a huge boost, I think, for Ukrainian morale. And this is going to be devastating for Russian morale. I can't imagine what Russian military bloggers are thinking and feeling right now, knowing that an additional $10 billion worth of U.S. military equipment is about to flood the front lines over the next 3 months. It's big, guys. So let's check in with some ordinary Russian soldiers on the front lines and see how they're doing. This is a unit showing where they sleep and how they live.
Вот такую воду пьем с какого-то водоема, мутная, горькая, но слава богу, что есть такая. Пытались сегодня откатиться, 2 ушли, 1 вроде нормально прошел, а 2, возможно, 200, потому что взорвался на моих глазах на середине поля. Дай бог выберемся.
The Russians still can't figure out how to get clean drinking water to their soldiers on the front lines. And it's July. Russia builds protective bunkers at airbase after Ukraine's spiderweb operation. Russia has finally constructed hangars for all of their planes, but I just wanted to remind everyone that 1/3 of Russia's strategic bomber fleet was destroyed 2 months ago, and Russia's never going to be able to replace them. Ukraine destroys thermobaric weapons facility that fed drone strikes on its cities. Satellite images confirm. This was in the Krasnozavsk chemical plant, and it was supplying components for Shaheeds. Ukraine struck it with one of their own drones. Russian Mi-8 helicopter goes missing in the Far East with 5 on board. This was an aircraft with 3 crew members and 2 technicians, and they haven't found the crash site yet, but when a helicopter goes missing, usually it fell out of the sky and everyone died, so bad news for Russia. Belarusian Mi-24 helicopter shoots down Russian drone flying to Ukraine. So I did wonder this, why doesn't Russia launch Shaheeds from Belarusian territory? And it's because they would then have to coordinate with the Belarusian military where these drones are headed. So a Russian drone entered Belarusian airspace, and I'm assuming the Belarusian military didn't know if it was a Ukrainian drone or a Russian drone, so they just shot it down. Either way, thanks Belarus. Denmark to provide satellite services to Ukraine via EU Defense Agency. Thank you so much to the Danish. Final video I have for you guys is from the American combat medic. This is Rebekah Maciorowski, and she reached out to me for help because her drone station was destroyed by the Russians. Some of her subordinates, she calls them her drone boys, were killed in this attack, and she lost a lot of equipment. Her drone station was destroyed. So this is the video she wanted me to share, and she's asking for donations. If you guys want to kick in $5 or $10, either to Monobank or PayPal, I'm going to put the links down below. But this is her video asking for help.
I want everyone watching this video to imagine that you're a soldier in a blindage, in a paval, in a basement, and you have been sitting there, injured, and waiting for evacuation. but evacuation is impossible because of the massive, massive groupings of Russians that are around. And I want you to imagine that you're waiting for a package of medicine, a package of water, some food. You're hungry, you're thirsty, you're in pain, and it never arrives to you. This could be your father, this could be your brother, this could be your husband. And these are our soldiers. So I'm telling you right now, it is so important for you to help us help our soldiers. And the way that we can do that is by raising money for drones and kits to bring the medicine and the food and the water to our soldiers who have been fighting for your country, for our country. And if you want to help our country, Ukraine, stay free, you need to help our soldiers. You need to do everything that you can. And one small thing that you can do is help by donating money for our drone systems to deliver medicine, food, and water to our injured soldiers who could very well be your brother, your father, or your husband. Thank you.
Люди, які втратили здоров'я на війні, а також хлопці, які вільні в даний час, всі працюють. Упаковуємо хорошо, щоб не порозбивалося, бо можливості нема не донести, не довести до них туди. Дуже тяжко. Найпростіший спосіб – це скид. Все долітає, нічого не розбивається, упаковуємо хорошо, стараємося і кидаємо все, що потрібно хлопцям. Цигарки, кому треба, таблетки якісь, їжа, вода, все, що їм треба. Ну, соответственно, і БК, і все остальне. В даний час дуже жарко на вулиці. Треба більше води, нижньої білизни, носків, футболок на заміну хлопцям. Все це ложимо, все це скидуємо постійно.
I'll put Rebekah's Monobank and PayPal links in the description and the pinned comment. And I do want to clarify that Rebekah's drone units, all they do is provide medicine, food, and water to guys on the front lines. It's just too dangerous to take supply trucks back and forth through frontline positions, so they use drones to deliver food, water, ammunition, whatever these guys need. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.